I agree. Capitalism is bad.
The mountain is a lie. Are you happy? Happy? Are you happy?
UK-based band Everything Everything has returned for their 7th studio album, Mountainhead. I have enjoyed pretty much all of Everything's discography, except for maybe their debut, but I've been loving them since at least their album Arc, including great albums like A Fever Dream and Raw Data Feel, which are both two of my favorite albums almost like ever. I love both of those albums. They're incredible. And so knowing that this was coming, I was getting pretty hyped for it. The single Cold Reactor was on my best of last year list for songs in the top 10. I was so hyped for this album based on that single alone. And yeah, at first I was kind of disappointed with this one, but here's how it goes with Everything Everything. I feel like every time I listen to them for the first time, I'm kind of like underwhelmed, or it doesn't fully hit the way that I think that it should. And it's not until like several listens and thinking through the lyrics that it all starts to come together for me. And this was particularly the case with this one, considering that it is a giant concept album. And one of my main criticisms with it is that, given this giant concept, and we'll get to it in a second, it's not always clear, at least like on a casual listen, what is going on. What is this concept? And I do think that that is a fault of the album if it isn't readily clear what the concept is. And they do sell it as this giant concept. I mean, all the sort of press run, even the lead singles were probably the most, I guess you would call, lore heavy of all the songs on the album. And so it was sort of pitching this idea that we were going to get some sort of grand narrative. And as you will see, like, I do think that grand narrative is there. It's just not as grand as I kind of was expecting, given the way they were selling this thing. So I guess to sort of sum up the concept for those who are uninitiated to Everything, they are playing on this idea that there is this society where they built this mountain by digging this giant hole, and I guess in the middle of the hole there was some sort of like golden snake that they're trying to reach, and up on the mountain there's this giant screen which like reflects yourself. And so this is sort of supposed to be, you know, a metaphor, somewhat obvious for like capitalism, that we're just digging this hole, trying to get this like golden snake. Meanwhile, the like upper class live on their towers in their vanity, just looking at themselves all day and how great they are. And yeah, I guess it's weird because it sounds like it should be a dystopian, like some sort of like mythical realm, but it is so close to being just what life in capitalism is that you don't really need all this lore here. I mean, most of the songs are just reflecting on certain types of reactionary people. So like End of the Contender is about toxic masculinity. Buddy Come Over is about, you know, people who are afraid of cancel culture and PC culture. You also get Canary, which seems to be about like the hustle and grind mindset culture, like, you know, your Andrew Tates. You even get some sort of masculine insecurity on Don't Ask Me to Beg. So it's hitting all these kind of like reactionary themes, in particular men, and how they sort of uphold capitalism. But like, all those pieces could exist on their own. They don't need to be a part of this grand narrative. And there's so much like our current reality that like it seems weird that they needed, I guess they didn't need to, but like to be structured in this like overarching like narrative theme that they wanted for this album. And yeah, it's just sort of like confusing in that sense, because like it does start off with the song Wild Guess, which is sort of like the sales pitch for this great society, like, yeah, let's dig this hole. And and then you get End of the Contender. It almost feels like it doesn't sort of like follow up with the theme. We then get a story just about toxic masculinity. And then you get Cold Reactor, which again sort of lays out some nuggets of the, I guess, lore or the theme, where they're digging the hole, building the mountain. We get this sense in which like digging the hole is very isolating and cold. And then this is even reflected in the state of technology, that you're digging the hole just so you could stare at a screen and tweet out a sad emoji to your friend complaining about how cold and empty you are. Which, hence the name Cold Reactor. This is just about how like everyone on social media is like dead inside. Which, accurate. We also get the sense in which the mountain has now become so high that it's blocking out the sun. So much like capitalism is destroying the planet, so is this mountain construction activity in the lore of this album. But then again, like, we then get the cancel culture song, Buddy Come Over, and then we get Are You Happy, which is just like... there's a line in there about the mountain is a lie, right? So it's just, capitalism is a lie. You're not going to be happy. You're just going to be sad and depressed the whole time. And then, so it goes on like this, where like there's some songs that dribble out a bit of lore, and then like there's other songs that don't sort of fully like give into that. But I guess like, so here's the point. In the end, I still feel like it works. And a lot of these themes are things that I fully agree with. I think they work. Capitalism does suck. There is this like idea that like the rich are up there living in their yachts, mocking all of us. I mean, this is showcased on the song Your Money, My Summer, where it just feels like, the rich people are mocking us, saying the line in the song is like, I spent your money. And it's depressing, and it comes across in the songs as well. So it's like they do sort of capture that element. It's just like, how do I then rate this? Because like, in part of me was frustrated because like, I guess like I was expecting something a bit more like, so almost like akin, and this is like a weird sort of comparison, or maybe not, given the sort of like, there are some musical similarities, but like, take Trench by 21 Pilots. That also deals with this complicated lore stuff, maybe a little too complicated to an extent in which it's annoying. But like, you could sort of like craft a universe and like play with those themes a bit more. But it just seems like they came up with this theme and just threw a bunch of things at the wall. And like, it's frustrating, even though the end result is still mostly enjoyable. And maybe that, in the end, is all that really matters. I did enjoy myself listening to most of this album. And I say most because, like, the first half of the album was a lot better than the second half, if I'm being honest. The first half is more punchy. It's in your face. You got great songs like Cold Reactor again. Are You Happy is incredible. The Mad Stone is just intense. Even Canary is another great song. And then the second half of the album, Your Money, My Summer, like, I enjoy it, but like, it's not their best song. City's song, to me, the theme there is just cities are isolating. Another thing that it's just they sort of like throw it in there, doesn't really necessarily connect to the whole. But even then, it's just kind of like meandering to a certain extent. It's still good, but like, I don't know, not as captivating as the first half. They do, however, end the album on a strong note. One of my favorite songs lyrically, aside from Cold Reactor, which is probably my other favorite song lyrically, is The Witness, the closer, which seems to be about revolution, but like in a weird way, because like there's a sense in which you could have like the revolutionary spirit internally, right? There's a sense in which this is like the change of heart is coming within, we got to destroy capitalism and like people are waking up. But then there's also the sense of like revolution as in we're overturning the entire society, the mountain pit dynamic thing going on here. And it does so in a way that is kind of depressing but realistic, and I kind of like how they wrap it up this way. So it ends with the line, "And the way that you wanted it never comes true, and the bird in the shed, it was looking at you, but you blew off its head because that's what we do." And it just seems like, yeah, we constantly keep turning these things over. We think capitalism is the right way to go. It isn't. Things suck, so we destroy it and we build something new, only to find out that like it sucks as well, and we end up blowing off its head as well. And then it ends with this, like, I guess, attempt to be optimistic, which is that it goes, "And I'll always believe in you endlessly, endlessly." And while that is said, you can hear this like baby crying, which is or laughing, sorry. And you get this sense in which what they're trying to indicate is that, like, see, the next generation is coming up. These kids are coming and they're going to make the world a better place. But even then, that, like, strikes me as, like, wrong. I mean, like, every generation thinks that the next generation is going to come and make things better, and things don't always get better, right? I don't think the mere act of just, like, you know, relying on the next generation is working. It's not going to work. The next generation is not necessarily going to make us better. I mean, that's what they said about millennials, you know, my generation, only for us to come up with like crap like the alt-right. So, you know, the next generation isn't going to save us. We all have to collectively, with solidarity, save ourselves together, you know. And the funny thing is, I do think that is the message here. There's almost a sense in which it's like, I don't know, mocking that idea, or at least showing the sort of like futility. I mean, like, I even enjoy it if it's just kind of resigning to the fact that we're fucked. As depressing as that is, it kind of like, you know, fits the current mood, if you will. So I do enjoy that. And so I guess, all this being said, musically speaking, if you like everything, you're going to find a lot to enjoy on this album, as much as I did. You know, there's some really cool musical passages here. I really love the opening song, I can't remember, A Wild Guess, where the guitar riffs on that song are just incredible. They sound so disgusting and dirty, but like it just adds this like raw energy, a great way to begin the album. I do love the cold synths, the sort of like tinny vocal effects that they have going on throughout the album. Again, I think a lot of people don't like Jonathan Higgs' voice, and so that serves as a reason why people don't get into everything's music. And fair, if you don't like his voice, you're not gonna like this one either. But I mean, I love his voice. I love the way he hits all those falsettos throughout this album, so that's not a complaint for me. And yeah, I enjoyed this thing for the most part. Maybe the most that I was kind of like about was Your Money, My Summer, but it has grown on me over time. And yeah, and City Song as well. That's a little bit of a snoozer for me. But the rest of the album, it's good. Abolishing Capitalism, I like that. It's good. I just, maybe it could have been a more cohesive idea, a little clearer. It was a little too obtuse, you know? A little too obtuse. But with all that being said, I would give this album an 8 out of 10. For now. Who knows? Maybe I'll change in a few days, because I've been digesting this album for a month or a bit now. I think it came out March 1st, so maybe it'll change again. But 8 out of 10 for now. For now.